Hi, my name is Mya Lowe, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I am so happy to be joined once again by Mya Lowe. How's it going?
Hi, it's good. It's good. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to be chatting with you again. Of course, getting into your work in the second season of My Life with the Walter Boys. So, to jump right in, were you told about Kylie's season two arc before shooting or during pre-production, or were you kind of learning on the go as you filmed and received more scripts?
Um, I did have a chat with Melanie Halsall, our showrunner, and we did talk about my arc and what that would kind of look like. And that's where I found out about Kylie's love interest being a thing. It was all really exciting. We had a little Zoom call and she kind of filled me in. But then there's also certain things that she didn't want to tell me so that I could find out as we watched and read the scripts and did all that. So yeah, I did learn a little bit before we went into it. And then a lot of it just came from reading the scripts.
You mentioned it being exciting. What were those initial thoughts for you, especially with, this new love interest who, this character of Dylan obviously existed in season one, but it's one of those things where there's just such a big ensemble that you don't really get to interact with certain people. So this is someone who you'd be seeing a lot more of this season.
Yeah, I was super excited because the few interactions I had with Kolton, who plays Dylan, were so great. He's such a wonderful guy. We had actually done a Zoom chem read together for a different project after season one. I like popped onto a Zoom and he was there, and I was like, "Oh my God, hi, Kolton," and I remember that going so well, and we had some really nice chemistry going. So then when Melanie told me that, I was like, oh, well, this works out perfectly because we've kind of worked together a little bit before. So it did work out really nicely. And I was so happy with how the season went, and getting to work one on one with him is so much fun.
We'll talk a bit more about, your character's relationship later on in the interview, but a little bit of deja vu there for you. The universe works in kind of funny ways
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so like I'd never pictured it. And I think that was what was one of the most exciting things is no one could see it coming. But for that reason, I think it just worked out so well.
So, in the start of the second season, we see Kylie. She harbors disappointment and anger towards Alex for the dude comments after the wedding and how she's perceived him to have changed over the summer. Can you expand upon those feelings and how Alex letting Maria sit next to him in driver's ed was the last straw for Kylie, causing her to switch electives with Jackie?
Yeah, there is definitely a lot left over after season one, and I wasn't sure where it would pick up. But obviously, it was kind of right after that happened, and the way that we approached season two was like Alex and Kylie have not talked, and Alex doesn't really know what happened, and he doesn't really remember, and he was drunk. So Kylie has a lot of resentment towards him, and that was definitely something I played into for the first little bit of season one, because there was so much left unsaid, and I didn't want Kylie to be the one to have to go and say it. So this was kind of her opportunity to stand her ground, and I think, um, like she says in the show in that one scene, they had signed up for driver's ed together. So to walk in there and then all of a sudden, he's getting so much attention from girls and in that first episode, and it's all so bizarre to Kylie. I think that was something where she was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't want to try anymore. That was kind of, it kind of built up to that moment, I'd say.
And then there's the big factor that Alex just is oblivious to, what's going on. And I'm sure that just, it's disappointing, but it also inside infuriates her that he doesn't seem to know what's wrong and what he did. And later on, he does accuse Kylie of being angry all the time and trying to be an outsider. So how does she take and interpret those words? And is there any truth to them that she doesn't want to admit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is totally some truth there. That's why it strikes a chord with her and really hurts her. Um, yeah, I think that there was some truth, but also he used to be that friend for her and that other kind of outsider, and she was happy with that dynamic, and clearly he's not interested in that anymore. So that's what kind of was, I think, behind all these scenes is just hurt. It's not, I mean, under anger is always some sadness. So that's kind of what I was trying to play more into with it. um but yeah, I would say there it's mostly familiarity with what he's saying and something that she doesn't want to admit, and by kind of avoiding it over towards like season one and stuff, it's kind of coming out to play, and he's calling it what it is, and putting it into words, which is what hurts the most.
So he's continuing to, put these words, throw these words at her, and she does hide her true feelings, of course, why his words hurt her so much in season one. But she does find an unexpected acquaintance in Dylan. She knows him as a jock, but he really starts to open up to her, about his father at Monty's. Can you take me through this new connection for her and Dylan's persistence to get to know Kiley?
Yeah, it's cute. I One of my favorite scenes, even though it's very short, but one of my favorite scenes of the season between me and Dylan is the woodshop scene, just because it's that like first little hint of, there's like a playfulness here and a lightness, and it's not so serious. And I think for the scenes with Alex and Kiley, there is often this kind of serious tone to it, and so much like hurt and like resentment under there. Whereas with Dylan, she's like starting new, and that's so refreshing for me to play with, and just to see for Kiley as well, from an audience perspective. I think that she does kind of see Dylan as, that's Cole's best friend. Like, he's just like Cole. I'm not even going to get into that. And so you can see that she's really hesitant to even give him the time of day for those first few episodes. But him being persistent and consistent too, is what draws her to him and eventually kind of wins her over by the end of the season.
Did the two of you get to improvise any of the moments in your scenes?
I would say, I mean, there's always little things that happen as we're filming, and we are always trying to play with whatever words we're given, and try to give something different every take. Certain scenes are a bit more like, okay, this is what's happening, but there were other scenes in there for sure where we were like playing off each other more, and given that space to do so. So that was really fun.
The wood shop scene was really funny. I like he was mansplaining a lathe
Mm.
to her, and of course, in true Kiley, fashion, she was like, "I know exactly what this is. You're doing it wrong," and you can kind of see those dynamics throughout the season with them. As she begins to spend more time with Dylan, what does she like about him? Like, what is attractive to her?
Uh, I think his confidence and his consistency with speaking to her and acknowledging her, and giving her that time. I think that's something that doesn't show up with Alex as much. So I think that's something that kind of catches her off guard with him. And um, he's often the one going up and approaching her. Like, she's not working for it. Whereas with Alex, she always kind of was. So that is what's refreshing, and that's something that I think was purposely put in there by the writers and by Mel. But yeah, I did love that part of it, because it was kind of, it's that trope of like, the jock and then the more dorky girl, and she's not interested. She's like, I don't want to get played around here. And then he's kind of like, no, I'm actually pretty serious about this. And I always love watching that, and then getting to play with it myself is so much fun.
And then, of course, him also opening up about his father, right? And you can see Kylie's also a person who very much values like a deeper emotional connection. So is that something that you kind of played with as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, we came from really different upbringings, and that also is a source of conflict for them in this season. But him confiding in her and actually taking her advice was such a big deal for her. Like, that wasn't happening with Alex. She could talk his ear off and say, "Hey, let's do something about it," and he wouldn't do it. In the first season, you'd see that. But with Dylan, it's like it takes one reminder and he's on it. And that's attractive to Kiley.
In episodes 6 and 8, Alex questions Kiley about her spending time with Dylan, which she immediately takes offense to. Is there any part of her that believes his interests and comments come from a genuine and caring, maybe even jealous place?
I think I think so. I think I was trying to approach it from like, okay, now you're paying attention. Like now you care. And I don't think that in those moments she was like, oh, he likes me or something like that. It was more so like frustration of okay, now you're in my position and you don't like it as much. And like I don't know what to tell you. This is what I've been dealing with for the first season and for the first bit of the second season. So um, I think that that's kind of what was going through my mind when I was preparing that for those scenes. It's kind of like, okay, well, here's a taste of your own medicine. I'm interested. I'm putting more time into someone else, and just like you have done before, and I'm gonna roll with that.
Because she is quite snippy with him about his
Yeah.
remarks. And, you know, like you mentioned, she's coming from this angle where it's like, okay, you never cared before and now you care. But this was all the basis of their, you know, years long friendship that she's kind of harboring. Can you take me through Kiley's movie date with Dylan and how she's processing this experience, new experience in real time? And of course, we didn't get to see inside the theater, but would you assume that he was a perfect gentleman and didn't try to make any like unwanted moves on her?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think they were in a position to be like, yeah, I think he can tell with Kiley that she takes time and work, and I think that's also what draws him to her. So that the movie date scene was really an opportunity to show um, Kiley getting taken care of for the first time and how new that is to her, and so, not something that she assumes anyone will do for her, or it's there's almost like a discomfort with it at first of like, no, 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 that's fine, you don't have to, like, I can fend for myself. um but he insists, and that to her really opens up to like, oh wow, like someone can, I can allow someone to take care of me a little bit. And it doesn't always have to be me working so hard and taking care of myself, and every man for themselves kind of deal. So I feel like that was kind of the purpose of that scene, to show um, that he could be a gentleman and that Kiley could accept it as well.
When he asks her, when was the last time you were treated to something? And you know, it's almost like she would have to think about that because she doesn't
Hmm.
really know when that was.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not, it doesn't happen. Like that's just not her reality. So this was that scene was a really nice opportunity to kind of switch sides for her, and open her up to a new experience.
And for you as an actor, getting to kind of peel back those layers is always a really fascinating thing. Moving forward, like really shortly after that movie date, though, despite Kiley and Alex's relationship being in a rocky place, she does call on him with help for her grandmother. So, can you take me through that decision for her and why she asks Alex instead of, say, Grace or Skylar or even Dylan?
Mm, yeah. Because I also don't want to say too much, but or share too much into the feelings of those two, and their relationship is complicated, and you'll see more stuff pop up in season 3, which we're filming right now. But um, I would take it as the dialogue says in that scene, is like, she like he's familiar, like he knows her situation. He's the only one that does. I would assume she hasn't talked to anyone else about it. It's not something that she goes around sharing. So in that moment, like he is the only one that she can call. And that's why this is what brings them back together, and brings them, fixes their friendship. That scene really like fixes it, because he shows up for her, and he didn't even, think about not doing it. He was there, and she was in a really vulnerable moment. So that's kind of how I took that.
And then obviously Kiley is not privy to this, but for viewers watching, they can see that you're right. Like Alex didn't hesitate when he got that text message. He was just like, Kiley needs my help, and he tells Jackie he has to go. So it's clear that her grandmother is not of completely sound mind, or at least capable of taking care of and supporting Kiley as maybe she should be. So can you tell me a bit about how you approached that scene and your mindset as an actor, with an aging caregiver who is not in the best place?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I would say I approached it from this. I mean, how they've established Kiley so far in the series is she's working all the time. She's providing for herself. She can take care of herself. And it's kind of, there's this like sad side of it where you see her in her home and you see how she's now taking care of her caregiver. Like this is supposed to be her guardian. This is supposed to be like her version of her parent. And that person can't show up that way. And but she'd rather stay in that situation than, obviously, like she says to Alex, end up in foster care. She can't do that. So um I really approached it from that point of like, this is desperate, but this is her only option. Like this is her home life. This is what she's accepted, and she's not going to go put herself in a situation where she's without a home. This is just what she's used to at this point, and that's why she gets defensive with him when he's asking about it. Like, hey, this should be your this is your guardian. They should be taking care of you. And it's like, well, I wasn't raised in the Walter house. Like, I don't have all these siblings, and I don't have Catherine and George as my parents. Like it's a very different situation, and it kind of puts it into perspective for Alex too.
Do you ever think about or speculate what Kiley might think is wrong with her grandmother, like something like dementia or something like that?
Well, it's mentioned in there that like she's an alcoholic. She drinks. Um, that was what was behind that scene, was like, she's passed out in the front yard, and this happens all the time. Like I'm assuming Kylie's coming home and she's either drunk or passed out, and she's always kind of putting her to sleep. And I could speculate and kind of come up with other ideas of what it could be, but I think that's like the main problem here.
And you can sense that desperation, in those scenes, before we get to the kitchen table. Like besides school, how do you think the constant work and stresses at home have affected Kylie's own mental health and mindset?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it come to fruition. You can see the kind of the vulnerability that pops up, and how much she relies on Alex, I think, has a lot to do with that. She doesn't have like her own definition of family. Like she really just has Alex and her situation at home and her work, and that's what she's been used to. So I think that's kind of what I would go with for that.
And she's also at this place in her life where, this comes through in conversations that she has with the other characters where, you have to work hard to survive. So anyone who is like not doing that, like it doesn't meet those expectations and standards that she has just kind of been forced to live.
Hmm. Yeah, that's her reality, and that's why I think the idea of being with Dylan was a little triggering, based on how he talks about his life. Dylan's a pretty privileged guy, but he obviously has his own problems with his dad, and she can't quite relate to that part of it, and that's where they kind of hit and conflict. But they're able to work around it because he's willing to put the work in and be a better person as well.
It's not another Walter Boy season without an emotional heartstring pulling scene between you and Ashby. So take me through preparing for and filming the scenes in her home, and what were those like for you?
Yeah, that was an intense day because we've been leading up to that moment since season one, um, especially episode 10. I mean, the wedding scene was just, that was the peak of it. But I remember season two as we were filming, we were like, when are we gonna come back together? Like, when are we gonna find our moment to make up? We got to make up. And then that episode came out, and we read the script, and I was like, okay, this is us. Like, this is about our chemistry now, and our chemistry as friends, and being together again that way. And it's important to differentiate that scene from that scene in at the wedding. They're very different. So it was really fun to play with that one and work off of Ashby. We have great chemistry, and I love working with him as well. It's so fun to experience like the difference between doing a Kiley Dylan scene and a Kiley Alex scene. Like, they're very different. They have such different relationships. So it was nice to be able to come back together in that and finally be like, oh my God, okay, we're good now. Like, we're not fighting anymore. We're not, arguing in the hallway anymore. We're finally making some ground, like, we're putting some groundwork down here. So it was fun to do. It was very emotionally exhausting, but in a great way. Like, yeah, there's just so much lead up to it.
Do you and Ashby do a lot of prep work together, or is it kind of like where your characters are in a bit of a different place? So you maybe don't talk as much and then just come together and have it flow naturally in the scene? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, we do not prep together. And I think that's what makes it work, because you show up on the day and we're both in a very different place. Alex is coming from this situation, I'm coming from this. And when you just kind of get there and roll the cameras and start working off of that, it's kind of a lot easier, and it gives you also more like spontaneous moments, like the hand touch thing. That was Ashby leaning in and doing that. We weren't told to do that. And from that moment, it sparked something new and brought something up new for me. So I really like to play with what comes up in the moment. I think Ashby's the same. Same thing with Kolton with the Dylan scenes. Like, there is something to be said about preparing on your own, knowing your intention, and then showing up and just going off of the other person and listening and just being present with them.
I love that. There's something just so fluid in that moment, and I like that you brought up the hand touch scene, because while they have the heart to heart, Kiley again still refrains from telling Alex exactly why the dude comments hurt her so much, but he does reach out to touch her leg, and she holds his hand over his. In that moment, what is your Kiley thinking? And is she hoping for anything?
Mm, I think again, don't want to give too much away into like the thinking behind the character, but I do think that was more of a moment, like, I approached it not from a romantic, sensual way. And I think same with Ashby. It's just like, okay, it's like our version of like a good hug. And with our blocking in that scene, it's not like, we're gonna get up and hug. It was like, okay, what is the final thing that we can do to connect here? And that felt the most natural. And it was almost like the handshake at the end, like, okay, we're good. And that's kind of how I thought about it, and that's how Ashby thought about it, and how it looks and how it felt is obviously up to interpretation. But I kind of viewed it as like a nice, like, coming together again moment, just to kind of complete the scene.
Well, it was such a well performed scene by both of you. And, the tears, of course, again in Kylie's eyes when she says that they're okay. But I say as a viewer, there was maybe like a touch of a romantic undertone there, because not all friends are gonna like reach out to touch, the leg
Yeah.
of another friend. But yeah, in that moment, it was so nice to see them reconcile that close friendship that has kind of gotten lost along the way.
Hmm.
Switching back to Kiley and Dylan, she is disappointed in his actions, of course, with the drug tests and his reluctance to go against his father. And it's visibly such a sore spot for him because that's the source of his pressures. So, can you tell me about her judgment of him, and why does she care so much?
Yeah, I think she cares because he has kind of everything he could want, and he's kind of throwing it away. I think like even him having, all this conflict with his dad, it really goes to show how much his dad is kind of controlling him, or how much like Dylan's actions are based off of what his dad thinks. And because Kiley is such an independent person and can't even relate to that, she's like, why do you care so much? Like, why can't you just, be your own person, is what she says. And that is what kind of gets through to him. But I think that's something that is just the reality for Kiley. She's always been her own person. And um I think that the way that like she challenges Dylan with that kind of thinking is really like nice and refreshing. And what he chooses to do to reconcile, is something that she really admires. And I think that was kind of like the final straw of like what reassured her, like, okay, yeah, this could be really good. I'm not gonna put up all these walls as much. I can like let my walls down.
So that's kind of the Silver Falls sparkle scene. So can you take me through filming that one with Kolton, including the kiss that they share, and how does she feel when, he says, "You were right, I'm going to try and be my own person." Like, is she genuinely happy in that moment?
Yeah, she's totally happy. I think like this was her own little fairy tale ending, that she got to have and didn't expect to have. It was super fun to film that. That day was so fun. It was a whole night shoot. We were there till probably like 3 or 4, and it was the whole cast. So that was really fun. We were all just kind of jumping around, hanging out, riding the carousel. And um, the first scene that we did was me and Colton's scene, and then we'd bounce over to the speech scene, and you know how it kind of intercuts. So it was really fun having like all the cast there plus all these extras watching, and then it's kind of daunting, and then us doing this scene and then kissing, and then it was a lot of back and forth. And it was really fun to do. It was really fun. There was no weirdness there. It was just like, me and Colton are really good friends, and we were able to really work with what was going on that day. And then obviously like the beautiful set design was really helpful in making it like such a magical moment.
Did you two work with any kind of intimacy coordinator for that one, or did you just work with like your showrunner and your producers?
Mainly showrunner and producers, but we always run stuff by an intimacy coordinator. We're also, everyone is working with them this season as well. I think it's always important to have someone like a third party you can kind of go to and talk about that stuff with. But they ran Mel ran everything by us before, with the scripts and stuff, and got the okay that we're good to do that. And we both just jumped right in and went for it.
I was gonna say it's daunting, like to do any kind of intimate scene, but also for that one, obviously having all the eyes on you as
Hmm.
well as like this other added element. But the backdrop was really nice.
Yeah, totally. It was, I think the first couple of takes you're like, you get the nerves out. And really the only I remember as we were kind of getting ready to do it, I went up to Colton. I'm like, okay, so which way do you want to go? And he was like, I'm so glad you asked me this because I didn't know. And yeah, let's go this way. And we like, we decide together and we're like, okay, we're good. Now that's the only question we need. Now we're good to go. So it was good.
Just in case you like don't want to butt heads like the very
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time.
On the first take, you just want to get it out of the way, and then from then on, it's just playing around. So great.
When Dylan says to Kylie, "I think you're pretty cool," do you think she had any PTSD flashback moments to the season one with Alex when he also kind of says, "I think you're pretty cool"? Because that was the first thing running through my mind. And I feel like Kylie's face was hard to read at that point.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did not think of that. I actually did not, and I think that's because of the conversation that led up to that moment. And Dylan had never really given her that same feeling as Alex did with like how he treated her. He was always pretty like out there about his feelings and wanting to be around her and kind of have that like romantic side. So I don't think that that was something she was thinking about, but I also don't think she was expecting him to like kiss her either. So that she was just kind of she was still in that zone of like teasing him. Like they were bantering half the scene, and that was super fun too. But she doesn't. I don't know. I think there's a thing about like she kind of keeps her expectations low, especially when it comes to the men in her life.
It's like when you keep it low, right, you won't get as disappointed. And she's gone through that enough times, especially with
Exactly.
Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I think she was so hesitant with Dylan in that season as well.
So how was it working so closely opposite Kolton this season? You know, you mentioned doing like this Zoom read before for another project, but what was it like getting to explore your characters' relationship together? And did you get to know one another as you spent time together, like when the cameras weren't rolling?
Totally. Yes. Most of my scenes in season two were either with Ashby or Kolton. So we were having I mean, it's so fun. Like I had always worked with Ashby, and then with Kolton, I hadn't known him as well. But um, we have like super similar sense, like a sense of humor, and there's lots we love to joke about. So I definitely would say like there is such like a playful element to working with Kolton. Nothing's ever too serious, and you know, he gives me so much, which I really appreciate. Ashby does the same. They both give so much to their scene partner, and that's all you can really ask for. So it's been such a pleasure, like getting to work with Kolton more. And season three has been great because we're all, in Calgary hanging out, and I've gotten to hang out with Kolton more outside of work. Same with Ashby, and it it really does like enhance your experience when you're on set shooting together too.
And with Kolton, I think he's been in the industry for over like 10 years. I think I
Mhm.
watched him on like a YTV show
Yeah.
back when. So it must be cool to like, I'm not sure if you were familiar with any of his past work, but getting to like pick his brain about being a bit more of like a younger teen actor as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We've definitely talked about like past projects and what he kind of does in his off time. Like he's such a big golfer, and I'm just getting into golf, so it's fun to chat about that. And yeah, he's a very down to earth guy.
You, like you mentioned, currently filming season three. I know you can't share much at all, but what
Yeah.
are you kind of hoping to further explore with Kiley in the new season, given all that happened in season two? And are there any specific storylines you are also looking forward to just seeing play out?
Totally. Well, I will say that there are just like so many fun elements getting added in season three that like none of us expected. And we get our scripts and we're reading, and we're like, oh my God, this is gonna be so fun to film. And there's like already been quite a few of those moments where I already know like, oh, this is gonna look great, and it's just gonna be so fun to watch the people do it, that kind of thing. In terms of storylines, I mean, I think there's an interesting dynamic between like Kiley being with Dylan and Dylan being best friends with Cole. I think that's a super cool like tie-in. Um, and then also obviously like the dynamic between um, Alex, Kiley, and Dylan, and how that like what that would even look like is super interesting and also like fun to play with too.
I know you're a showrunner, I think said in another interview that there's always a love triangle of some kind. So I think a lot of people are speculating like what exactly would that look like in season three. But all we know, of course, is hopefully that Kiley and Alex are in a good place, and people just want her to be happy. And I think that's the most important part. And it's kind of figuring out who might be the best person for her should Alex show some interest later on as we see him look over at them kissing. And we don't know exactly what he's thinking either, which is a big question mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows what he was thinking? Like I have I could have ideas, but I guess Ashby's the only one that could know. But yeah, I think it's I agree. I think I also want Kiley to be happy. Ashby said that too of like, he watched season two and he's like, I freaking love Dylan and Kiley. Like, you guys so cute, like are so cute. So it's going to be really fun to explore those relationships more and how they differ to each other, and then how also like all three of us would be hanging out, and what that would even look like.
In terms of season two, do you have a favorite behind the scenes memory from set that you can share?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, one really fun moment. I can't believe I haven't mentioned this before. Now this is coming to me, but when we were filming the Sparkle, we had lunch at like it was like 11:30 p.m. because it was a night shoot, and our circus was right across the street from this bar, and I think the bar is called Sally's. And this is in High River, a very small town, out an hour outside of Calgary. And I think we drove by on our way to the circus, and we're like, "What is that bar? That looks fun." And so we decided, let's walk over during lunch. Let's like grab our food, quickly eat, and then walk over to Sally's and see what's up. Um, and we went in there, and there was karaoke, and we sat down, and we were all like, in our costumes, sitting in there, and we were able to get on the karaoke list, and we got to sing "Dancing Queen" by ABBA. And I think it was me, Ellie, Alisha, and Corey and Kolton all up there singing to Dancing Queen, and it was so much fun. And I'm pretty sure like one of the drivers came, well, two of the drivers came in because they heard we were there and they're watching us, cheering us on, and they took videos, and it was so much fun. And I remember they had to come get us and be like, guys, we got to get back to set. And we all thought Mel would be mad at us. But she thought it was so funny. I think that was like such a highlight of the season was going and singing karaoke at lunch. That was great.
It's sometimes these like spontaneous moments, right, that really kind of make up the experience. And I'm glad that the drivers were there to take some video evidence so you kind of have
Yeah.
that with you.
Yeah. Still need that video. I know we've been talking about it because that was a great night. But yeah, I'll find it. I'll get it.
You're like, okay, I really need to track that video down now.
I need to. Yeah.
I know that you have the best relationship with the cast. I can tell yourself, Ellie, Abby, and Alicia as well have gone on girls' trips together to Banff, Whistler, Mexico. So, can you
Hmm.
tell me about this close friendship you forged and making time to travel together and for each other?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one of the best things to come out of this show for sure. Um, Season two, me and Ellie decided to live together. So we got an apartment together, and living with her was such a highlight, and was really helpful during that season, especially when you have time off and you're sitting in this city and your family's somewhere else and your friends are back home. And um, getting to live with Ellie was like such a pleasure, and we really loved it. And even this season, like we don't live together because I'm going in and out this season, but we see each other almost every day still. Um, so we decided that we wanted to do a rap trip, us four girls. We did when the whole cast first season, which was awesome, but it's hard to plan. And we were wrapping this time closer to December. So it's kind of a hard time for everyone to travel. But us four booked this little trip to Mexico for 5 nights, and it was so much fun. We did so many things. And then because me, Abby, and Alicia all live in the Vancouver area, we're able to kind of see each other more. But Ellie lives in Toronto. So we kind of, every couple months, we'd be like, hey, we need to all be together. Like, where can we go and what can we do? And in the new year, Ellie came here and we went to Whistler together. And it just kind of takes a little planning, but it's so worth it to just get all the girls together. And I know it means a lot to each of them as well to just have that time that isn't at work. Especially because also most of us like our storylines don't mix too much. So it's funny, we barely work together, but we see each other outside of work all the time. So that's been super fun. And getting to go, we went to Banff before we wrapped season two. That was great. We've had really fun experiences as a group, and I'm really lucky to have come out of this show and have made like three lifelong best friends. It's awesome.
That's so wonderful. And now that you say it, you're right. Like Kiley doesn't interact. Even like sh her and Grace had like less screen time together this in season two.
For sure. Yeah. I think all of our characters kind of dialed in on their own stuff in season two. And it meant a lot less group scenes, which was sad, but it works for the characters and the relationships that they're building.
I mean, you were not at the dance for one
Hmm.
thing. You did get to share some Halloween scenes with some of the others, which I'm guessing you saw them there.
Yes, I did. That was great. That was like one of the only days I had with that group of people. Super fun. Yeah.
And also with Cole, because I know after our season one interview, you mentioned being nice to explore that kind of dynamic. And you did get that little James Dean nod. So there
Yeah.
was like that acknowledgement.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a nice like brother sister relationship there. It's like it's very playful and like, Kylie probably thinks Cole's a little bit of a Dumbo sometimes. Like just makes not the best decisions, but there is like a platonic love there, I think.
I think he was impressed that she knew who he was trying to be as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. She gets it. She gets it. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the cliffhanger for season two with George?
Oh, yeah. Hard to say too
I
much.
know because you know what you probably know what has
Yes.
happened in season three, but I mean that was I feel like some viewers did see it coming. Obviously, the parents kind of had their own storyline, but you could see it was taking a toll on both parents.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And there's stuff that was filmed and cut and that was for a reason. So like even less was revealed than I thought would be shown. So when I watched the show, I was like, oh man, okay, okay, that's where we're leaving it. Um, but I am very interested to see. I mean, I know how it picks up, but I'm interested to hear everyone's reactions to what's going on and how the family deals with it and all that stuff.
Well, we will get into another project you're a part of. You starred in season one of Murder in a Small Town as Corporal Edwina Yen. Can we expect to see you in season two?
Unfortunately, I couldn't do season two. Yeah, it wasn't working out timing wise for me. But I had so much fun doing the first season of that, and I also loved Gibson so much. Like I haven't really stopped thinking about Gibson's since leaving there after Murder in a Small Town. But it's an awesome crew, awesome cast. I made some really lovely friends on that show. And it was fun because Alisha also had a little guest star on there. Like she's doing a few episodes, and she went back for season two for a bit of stuff too. So I'm excited to watch it and see where they've taken the stories. And yeah, I did have like an awesome time on that show.
You got to work with some very experienced cast members like on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a really cool experience because I was the youngest of the main cast. So yet everyone was just, I mean, so welcoming, so kind to me. Included me all the time. Like there was no feeling of me being like the treated like a kid on that set. People were very respectful, and I formed some really nice friendships and had and learned a lot. Watching these other actors, Rossif Sutherland, Aaron Douglas, Kristen Crook, awesome, awesome actors and great people to work with. They give so much, so I really appreciated it.
Edwina was unlike any other character you've played before. So can you tell me about those takeaways? Like how did this role challenge you and getting to perform in the police procedural genre?
Oh, yeah, good question. I did not expect to get it. I've said this in other interviews too. I got the tape and I was like, there's no way. I was like, I'm younger. I couldn't even picture it. And then I went in and taped for it because like, why not? This is kind of fun. It's a cool opportunity. And then I got to go do the in-person callback with Mylan Shaloff, who was producing director on the show for a season, who is awesome. And we went in there and worked it, and I was like, wait, this could be a thing, and this could be really fun. So it was a really great challenge. The procedural type shows, they move fast. You work. I work pretty long hours, pretty really often. I didn't have a lot of time off, and I'm learning sides on set while filming something else, and I'm learning sides for the next day, and it was a really great challenge, and it really showed to me like, hey, I can do this and show up and be able to get my lines. And obviously some days are you don't do as well as others, and that's okay. But getting to also watch the other actors and how they handled that kind of stress too, it opened up my eyes a lot and taught me so much of how to keep your cool in these kind of high pressure situations and when stuff is moving so fast. So I look back on that experience so fondly.
And with a procedural, every episode is like kind of something new for the most part. So it's not like
Oh
you're
yeah.
carrying like a case for throughout the whole season. And I know you said before, law enforcement and jargon, you had to kind of get familiar with that. And it must have been cool to use more of your physicality in a role like this because she is older, she's more mature, she's a career girl.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely had to uh like work on my physicality and what Edwina would look like and how she moves around and how she does her work. Like there was a lot of on location stuff where we're going and going into a house with our guns out and inspecting and that was definitely something I was very aware of like the way I hold myself needs to be a specific way versus when I'm playing Kiley and I can be a little looser and there's a bit more room for I'm just a 16-year-old girl here. So definitely very different, and I loved that. I loved getting to play something so different.
Well, I'm glad you got that experience. Hopefully, getting to continuously challenge yourself in more roles. Last year, you also worked on a short film, Galatea. I hope I'm pronouncing that
Galatea,
right, Gal.
yes,
It was directed by Celine Ribard. What can you share about this project?
yeah, that was an awesome project. We filmed it all in one day. It was in this beautiful kind of office space turned into art studio. And it was downtown and it was gorgeous. And it was what really drew me to it was that it's all filmed on film. So that was my first time doing something where we're working with rolls of film and we need to be careful about how many takes we do and not messing up the film when they're like putting in new rolls and taking out. And there was a point where one of the films got messed up and we had to go back and do a little more. Like it was really interesting, and I really love movies that are filmed on film. So a dream of mine is to do a feature that's on film. So that was like a really nice taste of what that could be like. And Celine was incredible. It was a long day, but everything we were doing was really vulnerable and meaningful, and the set was beautiful. They did such an awesome job um, making this short just feel like a full movie almost. So I'm really excited for that to come out and hopefully play at some festivals. I've seen it now and it's really beautiful. It turned out really nice. So I'm excited for that one.
Can you share a bit of the plot for those that don't know? I know there's an art you're an artist, reclusive
Yes.
artist, and you star opposite Brenna
Yeah.
Metzmeyer, who plays a statue that comes to life, something like that.
Yes, and it's based off of the Greek mythology of but we changed the gender roles of it, and basically her name is Galatea, and I make this statue, and it comes to life, and there's this like beautiful connection between myself and the statue, and very little, if not any, dialogue. It's all in the face and in the sound design and the music. So it was really nice getting to explore that. I won't give away too much just because it's not out, but it's based off of the Greek story, so you can find it. But it was really lovely to work with Brenna as well, and a lot of the movie is or the film is physical, and it's just about what you're showing on your face and how much you're giving. You have to really tell a story with your face, which I found to be a really fun challenge. So again, a very different project, which was great.
Yeah, because you don't have the words, right, to
Hmm.
say, so it's kind of like you're forced to be a bit more expressive. But like you mentioned, they're all great challenges, and I look forward to seeing it when it's released. I have one more question for you, a wild card question. If you were to compete on Master Chef, what would you make as your signature dish and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh, I'm really trying to get into cooking, so I can't say I'm much of a chef right now, but I'm trying to like find new recipes and that kind of thing. I would love to do kind of some sort of fusion dish. I feel like that's always more fun. I've heard of some really crazy fusions of cuisines. So like I love Japanese food. That's probably my favorite cuisine. So I would say even like Japanese and maybe like Japanese and Thai or something. Like that would be really cool to kind of make some fusion between the two and see what I have no idea what that would look like, but I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure someone's done something with it.
I love that. I feel like you could do like a noodle, kind of maybe a rice noodle dish of some kind.
With
Yeah,
some fish. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Maya, for taking the time to chat. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to chat with you and chat about the shows and kind of give my thoughts on it. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. So hopefully we can chat again for season 3. But until then, for all those watching, make sure to catch Maya as Kiley in season 2 of My Life with the Walter Boys, which is out now on Netflix. And we will see you next time.
Great. Thanks so much.